From Hollywood, it's Paranormal Tonight. I'm Mark Summers, and now, here's your host, Dan Harary.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us on our fifth show, Paranormal Tonight. My name is Dan Harary. How are you? Thank you for tuning in. Last week, we had a lot of people. I think we had over 1,100 viewers to see my interview with my friend, Oscar winner Robert Short, and that was really, really cool. So I am a Hollywood publicist. I've been so for over 40 years. We're broadcasting live from my Beverly Hills office. And I am an author, and I got to plug my books because my publisher keeps yelling at me. So this is my book, Flirting with Fame, about my Hollywood career. And my mother yells at me too when I don't do this. And this is my sci-fi book, After They Came. This book got me the attention of the biggest UFO people in the world, and I'm friends with all of them now, quite literally friends with them. Good news, speaking of UFOs, I am the chairman and creator of the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance. This week, we got approved by the IRS to be a nonprofit 501c3 organization. Please, if you're interested in ufology and UFO researchers and Hollywood storytellers, we are putting all of those people together for the first time. Check out HollywoodDisclosureAlliance.org. And as of today, and I want to thank my daughter Anjali for helping, we are able to take donations to further our cause about promoting disclosure in the media. So HollywoodDisclosureAlliance.org. Okay, we have a very special guest tonight, a good friend of mine, a very, very interesting character, and he is a character. So here we go. Let me read his little bio here for you, and then we'll bring him in. Fred Barton is America's robot man. His Hollywood-based company, Fred Barton Productions, is the world's leading producer of museum-quality, famous movie and television robot replicas sought internationally by private collectors and museums. In addition to manufacturing Robbie the Robot, who was inducted into the Carnegie Robot Hall of Fame, and we'll talk about that in a minute, Fred has built many other museum-quality, life-size, computerized replicas of the most famous movie robots of all time. His work includes museum-quality replicas of Robbie the Robot from Forbidden Planet, the original Star Wars trilogy droids R2-D2 and C-3PO, robot model B9 from Lost in Space, one of my favorite shows when I was a kid. I loved Lost in Space. GORT from The Day the Earth Stood Still. Fred, I have a funny story about Robert Wise when we get to that. The Iron Giant, Maria from Metropolis, the Battlestar Galactica Cylons, the silent running drones, and the original RoboCop, to name just a few. Fred and his robots have been profiled by numerous media outlets, including The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, which we will talk about in a minute, CNN, CBS, Sci-Fi Channel, History Channel, Fox, A&E, Wired Magazine, People Magazine, LA Times, USA Today. And obviously, Fred had a very good publicist. And oh, yeah, it was me. That's how Fred got all that coverage. It was me. Thank you very much. When not engaging in building his robots, Fred enjoys writing, producing, and responding to the myriad of phone calls, letters, and emails he receives from around the world about people interested in robots, past, present, and future. Now, right before we bring Fred in, I have one interesting tidbit to mention. The first ever robot in entertainment appeared on a stage in 1921 in Prague, Czechoslovakia, in a play called Rossum's Universal Robots, 1921. Here we are now, over 100 years later, and robots are still as popular as ever. So, okay, Ray's my brother. Let's bring in the robot man himself, Fred Barton.
Hey.
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 There he is. How are you? How you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I see you got Robbie in the background there. Is that?
Yeah. I told him I was going to be on, and I couldn't stop him.
How many before we get to our scripted questions, how many robots Robbies would you say you've built in your
career? A few.
100, 1,000?
More. I don't want to give it away, my modesty. You know.
Okay. Well, you are the robot man. Fred, can we please show slides 1 and slides 2?
Sure.
Start off right off the bat here. Race, I mean.
Oh,
Yep.
who's that?
All right, so Fred, you were just a kid when you first got interested in recreating your own famous robot, so I have to ask a question.
I was 16 in that shot. That's my first Robbie replica. I was in high
robots.
school.
Fred, why robots?
Oh, why robots?
Yeah.
Why not? I was always in love with robots ever since I saw Forbidden Planet when I was 4 years old. My dad got a color TV. Remember, this was really back in the day, like 1961. We were watching this 1956 film in color. And I remember being very scared watching the movie and just seeing Robbie. Just Robbie was, it was a different time. Remember, it was like mid-century. We weren't all jaded with the myriad of computer images that we have today and fun stuff to watch. So I was just a little 4-year-old kid, and it just put the zap on my head. And ever since then, I've just been robot happy. Oh, here he is now. This is Robbie in Movie World, Cars of the Stars, Planes of Fame. And he was bought by, in 1970, there was the MGM auction when MGM went into the casino business. And they sold Robbie along with so much more stuff. And he was put on display in this giant museum, which had more props than you can shake a stick at. That's your idea of a good time.
How old are you? How old are you in this picture?
I'm probably 17 there. I had this little growth spurt, and then there I was with robot. Fred Barton. Awesome. Wait, that's B-A-R-T.
Barton, race. Fred Barton.
Yeah.
B-A-R. Wow. All right. Well, I'll call you Fred Barton now from now.
All right. Yeah. Perfect.
Okay. All right. So why robots? Did we answer that one? Why robots? I think we did.
The flashing lights, the moving, the modern, the whole sci-fi thing. It was just, I just loved it.
How did you go about getting the rights to build and sell your very first Robbie the Robot?
Well, this is the age of the internet was just coming, and a lot of people were asking me about robots online and so forth. And I realized if I really wanted to sell these commercially and be taken seriously, I would have to get the license to do it, because I didn't want to be a pirate. The piracy is a whole other thing in props. But I went to, it was MGM. Well, it was Turner at the time. They had the MGM library, and they didn't really know what they had. And, they had sold the rights. It became Warner, and then on and on. So anyway, I approached them, and I was able to get the license. They didn't, collectibles weren't any big thing, especially full-size replicas. They didn't know it was a thing, and I was able to get it. You have to jump through hoops. You'd have to pay a lot of money. But, I've been the licensee for, 25 years. I mean, boy.
You were the only one of your kind, weren't you? I mean, no one else.
I was. There was nothing else. I mean, Lucas was licensing all the Star Wars stuff, but not to this extent. Not beautiful one-to-one, replicas. And fortunately, I was able to restore the original Robbie, which was on display at that museum. And so, my Robbie was like,
Where is that Robbie now?
That Robbie just sold at auction a couple of years ago and went for $5.375 million.
And why didn't you buy him, Fred?
I couldn't find the money on the floor of my car. I thought it was between the cushions. But so he sold. And I think that George Lucas bought it for his new museum that he's going to be opening up.
Wow! So you could probably buy the Coliseum.
I don't really know. Hey, Fred Barton. Here we go.
So you could probably go visit your old friend, the original.
Well, I had Robbie for a few months, restoring him and taking molds off him and so forth. And that was, what year was that? Very 74, 75. I had built a replica and I took it to the museum, and they thought it was the original. And they go, "Oh, what are you doing with my robot?" I goes, No, this is the one. Remember all these kids hanging around the museum, checking out Robbie for the last, 6 months, taking pictures of it. And then we just, my brother, Mark, and my friend Lou, remember I was in like junior high or late junior high or high school. And I had never built anything, and I decided, well, I really want Robbie. My parents always said, "What do you want for your birthday?" "I want Robbie the Robot."
And you
I
got
was
it.
old, and I never built even a paper airplane, and it was really a very ambitious product. It took a year and a lot of study on how to do it now, and I had to become an expert on sculpting and mold making and fiberglassing and machining and all this stuff, and still managed to go to school.
Well, you did a great job. You really did a great job. All right, moving on. Moving on. Race. Slide number 3, please. Okay, so Fred, back in the late 90s, you and I did a lot of really great, fun PR events.
Yeah.
To promote you and your robots, obviously. We did Wired magazine. We did People. We did the LA Times.
Even Playboy.
Did we do Playboy?
Yeah.
I don't remember. Race, can we do the next slide for? There we go. Look at that. Now, is that, I think you and D. Wallace are the only people I ever got into People, but I love that.
So, wow.
What a great picture that is. I hope you have that framed somewhere.
I do. I have it framed right here. No, actually, I have a bunch of copies of it. I haven't really looked at it in a long time. Yeah, that's me.
That was great. That was
living in Westwood at the time. Boy,
I was standing right with the photographer. I love that picture with all my heart. Okay, so next slide, Race, number 5. You and I did Jay Leno, then Tonight Show. We did this together.
Right. That was a lot of fun. They did a lot of skits, besides the on stage thing. It was actually pretty funny. And let's see, back then we were see what happened with that Tonight Show thing.
Didn't you do something? Wasn't Robbie out on the sidewalk talking to people in the street?
Yeah. He was picking up hookers and stuff. And
do you remember any of the rapport between Jay and Robbie? Do you remember how
we were talking about Alien? I asked him, I go, "Are you interested in robots?" He was like, really just getting into his cars. And he goes, "Well, it's not a car." And I know we did this for, anyway, yeah, we were talking about the movie Alien and how, Ripley had to go back and get her cat. And he's going, "I wouldn't have gone back to get my mother." So right. I remember we did this. It was the premiere of the Lost in Space movie.
That's right.
For New Line. And they had screwed up at the Tonight Show and they wanted the Lost in Space robot. And if you watch the clip, they said, "Yeah, we couldn't get that robot." And he goes, "No, this is Robbie the Robot from the 1956 film Forbidden Planet." And so then we did all these skits with Robbie, and Robbie worked out great because he can walk and talk. He's got personality. He's
well, after we did the show and then the show was over, I went backstage. Now, I was Jay Leno's publicist from 1987 to 1989. I was his publicist years earlier, 10 years earlier. So I said, Jay, after we did the show, I said, "Hey, Jay, how are you? I'm Dan. I don't know if you remember me. 10 years ago, I was your publicist." And Freddie looked at me, he looked around and goes, "So you're representing robots now, huh? Yeah, you're really moving up in the world, huh? Robots, huh?" And I go, yeah, Jay, I'm really, I'm trying to make a living with robots. So
Jay's great. I mean, I watch his nice car show all the time.
He's a nice guy. I always liked him, and he was always very nice to me. Okay, next slide, Race number 6. And Fred, tell us, this is, you and I did Forbidden Planet Reunion at the Grauman.
Right. That was for the oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah. Do you remember what year this was?
2006, maybe.
Really? Huh?
I don't. Somewhere in there.
Was it the 5th? Oh, hold on. It was the 50th anniversary of the film, and the film came out on home video. That's what it was.
Right. Yeah. It was the newly restored HD version.
That's right.
Forbidden Planet, and they had the cast there, and I hosted it. I brought the Robbie walking suit, which is the guy standing behind me, and another Robbie on stage. We did this choreographed thing with the cast, and it was a lot of fun.
So obviously a friend or your brother or someone was inside that. Is that correct?
No, actually, we get a professional puppeteer operator to get inside Robbie. He's really quite arduous to get inside and move around. It's a very dangerous suit. You've got the high voltage neons right in front of your face. Wow. You can't see. You have to see like 20 feet in front of you. There's no depth of field, and you can barely move. You've got no lateral movement. It's hot. I mean, Robbie creates his own weather systems in there, and
Wow.
the dome fogs up, and you can only
awesome.
really be in there for 15, 20 minutes at a time, and then.
That's so great. All right, next one, please, number 7. Okay, so Fred, what are we looking at here?
Well, this is just some of the that's some of the cast. That's Warren Stevens, who played Doc, and then there's Anne Francis, Earl Holliman, and Oscar Goldman from The $6 Million Man, but Jack Anderson and Robbie. And they were all very happy to get back together, and they loved the original film, especially Warren Stevens. He said, G. Roddenberry owes everything to Forbidden Planet. He was a big Forbidden Planet fan, and he says Star Trek's completely based on Forbidden Planet, which I guess it really is.
Yeah, that was the original cast reunion of Forbidden Planet. You and I co-produced that. Robbie was the star, and that was a lot of fun. I remember that night. We had a lot of fun that night.
Yeah, it was cool.
That was great. Okay, moving on. Number 8, Race, please. Slide number 8. All right, Fred, who is this guy?
That's me hiding behind. That's the original Lost in Space robot. That's actually the stunt double robot.
Wow.
After I restored him, there were 2 robots. There was the suit, and then there was the one that they would hang out in space or blow up or burn up or whatever. And Paul, what's his name from Paul Allen of Microsoft fame. He bought it at auction 20 years ago for $300,000, and he got it, and it was a wreck. And they got a hold of me, and they said, "Hey, we know what you did for Robbie and everything. What can you do for the Lost in Space robot?" I go, "Well, there's 2 schools of thought when you're restoring a thing like this, like leave it alone. This is what it is, and have it deteriorate to nothing, which is what was happening to it, or bring him back to his glory, which I elected to do. His arms were like, he had no arms. It was really pathetic. All the latex had gotten all decomposed, and somebody over the years had changed all his buttons and lights in front, and the neons were broken, and the thing was this and that and terrible. So I go, he didn't want to display it in the museum. So I made it look like this, and it was tough giving him up. I mean, I had the original Robbie. Now I had the original Lost in Space robot.
Wow.
It was really great.
So Paul Allen owns the original one now?
Interesting. The museum, which is now called Mopop, recently sold it, and it sold at auction again at Julian's Auctions just about 2-3 weeks ago for $500,000. And they still have a lot of. I made a lot of robots for them for their display, but they rotate exhibits quite often. And since Mr. Allen died, his sister took over the museum, and I think they have other priorities and other, whatever, but so that's where it is now. I mean, I don't know who bought it. All that's confidential. So
in your career, who's more popular for sale, Robbie or B?
Oh, well, Robbie's the king. Robbie is he was the first, and he is the most popular robot still over anybody. R2, 3PO,
really,
GORT, the Lost in Space robot, RoboCop. Everybody is like, oh, it's Robbie the robot. I mean, everything is modeled after Robbie. He's just like this genius washing machine design. Looks like an old vacuum tube. Well, that was Robert Kinoshita, the designer of Robbie. And he also designed the Lost in Space robot. Right. That's why people always confuse the two. They go, yeah, see, he's got that barrel body and the neons in the chest and all that stuff. And what Mr. Kinoshita, what MGM couldn't build for Robbie in '56, they turned it into the Lost in Space robot for Irwin Allen, who wanted a version of Robbie, but obviously they couldn't use Robbie's, and it was like more of the psychedelic era with all the flashing lights and the colors. So
they're related. Robbie and B9 are related.
The Lost in Space robot is the poor cousin.
Yeah, absolutely. They had the same father.
Same dad, yes.
That's great. Okay, moving on. Race, please. Number nine. Okay, Fred, in 2008, You won a Saturn Award, a Saturn Award, Service Award, Special Achievement, Outstanding Contributions to Science Fiction. I was there. I probably maybe even took this picture. What do you remember about that day?
I remember taking that picture. I remember Del Toro was there. It was a great day. I really wasn't expecting it. They called and they said, "Hey, you've made so many outstanding achievements in science fiction. With we want to give you a Saturn Award." I go, "Well, that's great." And that's Jennifer Love Hewitt, right?
Yes, correct.
Yes, and
she's very sweet. I met her a couple times. Very nice lady. Really nice.
I think she was doing Ghost at the time.
I think it was called the Ghost Whisperer or something.
Ghost Whisperer. Yeah, well, there was some ghosts there.
It's a TV show. It was a TV series, not the movie Ghost. It was a TV show.
Yes, but she was very, very friendly, as you could see. And that's the new reimagined Battlestar Galactica Cylon that I was making for Universal for several years.
Well, we'll get more to the Cylons in a minute.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, but that's a wonderful picture. I mean, you look really happy there, Fred. I mean,
well, yeah, well nourished for sure.
With a beautiful girl. I wonder what Chris was thinking while we took this picture. All right,
put them together. They were friendly. So
okay, race number 10, please. This is you with the award.
That's me and that
Saturn Award.
The homeless in there. Yeah.
Do you remember? Do you remember what you set up on the stage at all? Any idea what you set up there?
Oh, I think I thanked everybody but Chris, which I regret to this day. I'm thanking everybody except my beautiful wife, who was instrumental in everything that I do. And then later I go, oh shit, I didn't mention Chris. So that I remember mostly, and the rest was the usual babble, like I'm going now. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Talking about robots and how I got into it and like what made you interested in robots and all that stuff.
It's a wonderful photo. You really look happy. All right, next one. Number 11. This is me hitting on your wife, Chris.
Yes.
Look at your beautiful wife.
Right. Yes.
I think I still had a little hair left then, Fred. A little bit of hair.
Well, you look good. The sunglasses, very Hollywood.
Yeah. You were probably the only person there that had their
like
publicist.
One of the first selfies ever shot.
Yeah, I photobombed you and your wife in that picture. Absolutely. I always had a crush on Chris. You can tell her that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, she's really very sweet.
I robbed the cradle on that one.
She's wonderful. Okay, now we're going to move into Cylon Land, number 12, race. Fred, you and I did a promotion in Hollywood at the Cinerama Dome for the Sci-Fi Channel's reimagined Battlestar Galactica. You were the Universal Studios licensee, making incredible 7-foot-tall Cylons. Tell us about the Cylons, how you got the rights, and then I'm going to tell you my Katie Sackhoff story.
Okay. Again, with the Cylons, it was just another robot I wanted to do. And Universal had contacted me. They go, hey, would you like to do the Battlestar Galactica Cylons? I go, well, if I'm going to do one, I want to do them both. So I was doing the original show with the disco Cylons from the 80s, late 70s, 80s. And then this is the sci-fi version, which never really existed in the world because it was all CG. He's a cartoon robot.
Right.
And back in the day, before 3D printing and digital scanning and all that stuff, I managed to get a hold from Universal the computer files for this, but there were no 3D printers, so we had to get it and design it so you can. I mean, look at those ankles, right? They're 1 inch, and you've got this 7-foot robot. He's got these 1 inch ankles. I mean, good luck.
I'm looking at her ankles, quite frankly.
Oh, well, okay. Well, you see what I'm thinking about. Anyway, so we had to make that thing, and it was all sculpted out of foam, and then molds were made, then fiberglass parts, and metal armatures, and electronics in the head for the for his thing back and forth. But he's very delicate. But I really like the look of him. He was very popular. Have you sold many of him? Yeah, I don't remember how many, but plenty. We sold the most R2s and 3POs with Sideshow Collectibles back then, and those are just hundreds and hundreds of those. But well, he was very popular that day on the red carpet there. All right, Fred, we have to take a little break, pay some bills. Race is going to take us into commercial, a couple of minutes, and we'll come back with
More with Fred Barton, the Robot Man, right after this.
All right.
Are we alone in the universe? The most important question facing humanity is on the verge of being settled once and for all. The Mutual UFO Network has been at the forefront of this journey for nearly 50 years. Our members worldwide are dedicated to the research, documentation, and awareness that will shape the future of humanity. Won't you join us?
And we're back live on the air from beautiful downtown Beverly Hills. This is Dan Harary, part 2 of our talk with the one and only Robot Man, Fred Barton. Fred, what'd you think of those little promos? They're pretty cool, right?
It's amazing. I look forward to seeing this at halftime on the Super Bowl. This will be great.
I know, absolutely. On that topic, this is completely off topic also, but Martin Scorsese just directed a commercial about UFOs. It's people looking at their phones while UFOs are invading the Earth, and everyone's looking down and no one's looking up. And it's a fantastic commercial. Like, check it out on YouTube. Martin Scorsese's
I got my Scorsese glasses on today.
Yeah, you look like him a little bit.
No, but we're related.
Yeah, absolutely. Race. So now my favorite photo for tonight, number 13.
Oh.
Okay, so let me set this up. So, Fred, you were standing opposite the Cylon. I was, sort of luring photographers and media over to us. Katie Sackhoff, there in the pink, was there first, and she posed for us. Very nice. And I was talking to her, flirting with her, and we were talking for a few minutes. Very, very nice. Then a limousine pulls up, and Tricia Helfer in the red gets out. She walked past us. I gasped, Fred. I went, because she was so incredibly beautiful. I went like that, and then Katie Sackhoff looked at me like, yeah, I know, it happens all the time. like Katie, is saying to me, "What am I, chopped liver?" I mean, they're both beautiful, but Tricia, boy, she literally took my breath away. I love this picture.
Well, I'm happy to shoot. I think I was auditioning for The Sopranos in that shot.
You look like Big Pussy, right? like Big Pussy's brother.
Paul Sorvino. I'm right out of Goodfellas.
It's such a great
different
picture.
persona in every era, every robot. I had to change my look. Oh, that's so funny.
It's just such a wonderful. I mean, as a publicist, I just enjoy the hell out of that photo.
Well,
Yeah,
well, listen, I
obviously,
think they loved you. We talked about you quite a bit backstage, and then we got a
of
couple of
course.
hot dogs, and I was.
Well, Katie
talking-
Sackhoff told me, I said, look, I think you're terrific. And she goes, oh, yeah. She goes, thank you very much. I'm going to be on Nip Tuck and I'm going to be on 24. I said, really? So we were talking about those shows and then Trisha walked by and I got distracted. Anyway, okay. Enough of the beautiful girls. Next one, 14, race number 14. All right, Fred. So what's the Robot Hall of Fame? How'd you get their award? And who was Robert Kinoshita?
Well, Robert Kinoshita is the man standing behind me. It was really a night about him and Robbie, and I was there too because I was like, you know, the robot man and Robbie, and they inducted Robbie and Kinoshita, and I guess I was there for the ride. I don't know if I was inducted or not into the Robot Hall of Fame. I became a juror after this, and then every year they would have famous movie robots and a couple of real robots like a NASA robot or somebody that they would induct. And it was just all about robots because they are the school of robotics down there. And then they have the Carnegie Science Center, which I also provided a great many robots for those guys, and they're still on display there. Anyway, Bob lived to be 100, and he was very flattered. And Bob Kinoshita, I kept asking him, I go, how about another Robbie, or how about another robot, you know, another famous Kinoshita robot, because he did the Lost in Space robot and Robbie. And he goes, no, he was retired, and you know, he was a draftsman, and he just didn't want to do that anymore. He was just more interested in trying to perfect his bowling game. And he was really quite an excellent bowler. And it kept him young. He beat cancer twice, and he lived to be 100. I mean, he did really well. And he says he owed it all to apple cider vinegar. He would have 2 tablespoons a day.
You mentioned earlier that you drink.
Right, that's my apple cider connect there. So
that's great.
He was a great guy. He was an art director. He did hundreds of films. He was even art director for a couple seasons on Hawaii Five-0, and he was telling me all these Jack Lord stories. Pretty interesting. But
so he was an entertainment industry craftsman.
Well, he was an art director forever. He's got hundreds of films under his belt, and he started, before he did that, he was a draftsman at GE, where they used to make washing machines, and he would draw these washing machine drums, clear, so you can see the agitator, and you can see it in his work. If you look at Morbius's house, it looks like a washing machine, and Robbie looks like a washing machine, and Lost in Space robot looks like a washing machine. Yeah, that was his thing. But he was great, and we kept in contact really right up until his passing a few years ago.
Was he a hero of yours? Would you say?
Yeah, he was. He was really a legend, and it was really nice, being able to meet him. We did an autograph edition of Robbie. He came over to my studio and he signed several robots.
Wow.
And he was great. And he said, my robots, he really looked better than anything that MGM or Fox had made, because, I put a lot of time in these robots as opposed to a studio. They got 6 weeks to build a prop, which, of course they spent more time on Robbie than 6 weeks, but that's how long it took him to build a Lost in Space robot, And he says the attention to detail was much greater, as it should be, for a studio license collectible. You're going to put this thing in your home. It should really be, beautiful. So
that's great. You got to befriend your hero. That's
right to the for 20 years. He'd come over, play pool. It was really nice.
In 1986, I befriended Mickey Dolenz, the drummer from the Monkees. He was my hero. At the age of 10, I started playing drums at 10, 1966. I met him at Columbia Pictures when I worked there, and he and I used to have lunch together. And I'm like, I'm having lunch with my childhood hero. So I know what that feels like. All right, race number 15, please.
Anthony Daniels. I think this was also at Carnegie. Anthony was there. And I had provided a 3PO and I think GORT and Maria from Metropolis for a stage show. and of course Robbie, and it's a good time. Great talking about George Lucas and Star Wars and all the ins and outs of the 3PO suit, and got that look in my eye. So interesting.
You look scared. Was Anthony was he a nice guy?
Very nice guy. A great gentleman, very professional. We got along great. We had dinner and we were sitting at the same table, and it's so interesting meeting all these people. I mean, without the robots, I would never. It was like my entree into the world of sci-fi and really show business in general. I met so many makeup artists and makeup legends, and it really opened up the world to me at a very young age. Because remember, I was 16 when I first built Robbie, and it just took off from there.
You created your own entree into Hollywood. No one else did what you did.
Well, I guess that's true, and I'm still doing it. So that's amazing.
That's very cool. I always admire people that have a dream or a vision and they see it through and they become successful. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
This is a really nice, sweet picture. He died recently, right?
No, I haven't heard.
Anthony Daniels, didn't he die?
3PO?
Yeah, I think he did.
Oh, well, sure. Okay. Well, my condolences. My Mickey condolences. No, I don't know. I've never.
All right, this is from my daughter. My daughter sent a question, Fred. What are the ins and outs of the C-3PO suit? Is it super difficult to maneuver?
Yeah, you have to be the skinniest little guy to get in it. As a matter of fact, as they've made more and more Star Wars sequels, Mr. Daniels was getting a little thicker with old age, and he couldn't put on the original 3PO suit. Although you can see he's still very slight, diminutive gentleman. And the 3PO suit is made of several pieces. There's a front and back piece to the helmet. Everything is front and back. And if you look at it, and you have to wear a leotard, and you can't move, and you can't see. He's got those little pin eyes. Very, very difficult to maneuver, even to this day. They're probably CGing him, now. I mean, although you don't see him much anymore. I wish they would bring back the droids and all these new Star Wars things.
Did he know that you had the Star Wars licenses?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Did he ever come out?
He would look at 3PO. He goes, well, the eyes should be a little lighter, this or that. I go, well, you should know,
he should know.
Hey, Dan, I think Anthony's still alive.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
77 years old.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking of maybe the guy that played...
Darth Vader is dead. Are you thinking of him?
The Wookiee? Who played the Wookiee?
Yeah, the Wookiee died.
Yeah, I'm sorry. X-rays. Yeah. Anthony Daniels, everyone is alive, and I was incorrect. Yeah. Okay.
Terminal.
All right, moving on. So let's see, number 16 race. All right, so here's Robbie. So Fred, you offer so many of Hollywood's most iconic robots for sale.
Right.
Well, hold on. How much do some of your robots sell for? Who buys them? People, companies, and museums. Who are some of your clients?
Well, everybody. Well, let's see. I'm not really supposed to say, but let's see. Who do I have? Oh, well,
I know movie stars, right?
Just everybody. I mean, I could have from anywhere from plumbers to multi-billionaires. I mean, just the who's who of computers and electronics. Elon Musk is a customer of mine.
Wow, really? Wow.
Oh yeah. He's always asking, "You got anything new?" I go, "Well, no, not really." It depends. If there's a movie, if there's a new famous movie robot or something, I'll make it. But there really hasn't been anything, and nothing as as iconic as Robbie. Here he is at Hammacher Schlemmer at their flagship store in New York, and he was in the window.
Is that on Fifth Avenue?
I think so.
Because I worked on Fifth Avenue in 1980, and I think I remember seeing this.
Oh, well, Robbie remembers you.
As well he should.
Things to say about you.
Race number 17. Next line.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, so yeah, Here we go.
Right. Yeah, that was an ad for R2 and 3PO when I was partnering with Sideshow Collectibles, a great company. And we were doing R2 and 3PO for the first time as a licensed one-to-one with Lucasfilm. So you can see Sideshow Lucas, Fred Barton Productions. And I was really stoked, that I was, in this such great company. And it says Fred Barton, America's Robot Man. these aren't the droids you're looking for. I go, oh yeah, they are. And so I provided all the tooling and all that for Sideshow, and they sold out instantly. You know?
Did many people buy both? Probably, right? Both
Oh yeah, usually people do. Usually they can't stop with just one robot. Like, you know, they'll want one, then another, and usually it's 2 or 3 robots, and then there's, you know, different robots. Some people, oh, I'm just a Lost in Space robot guy. I grew up with Lost in Space. Or another guy's, I'm just Robbie, or you know.
Yeah. You're robot agnostic, right, Fred?
I love them all. I really do. I truly do still have a passion. I'm still very excited about them. I love talking to people about them, and I get like the bio says, I get calls all the time, and they like, hey, remember this? And I go, yeah, and I'll talk to them, and you know, they go, well, it's a dying art, you know, and there's no craftsmanship anymore, and everything's virtual or telephone or a little 3-inch collectible. You know, nobody makes 7 and 8 foot robots. You know.
Race number 18.
Oh yeah.
So where was this, Fred?
This was also at the Saturn Awards. I brought a few robots. I think from left to right. Well, screen. You'll have to know who they are. There's GORT from The Day the Earth Stood Still, 1951, and he's 8 feet tall. And then that little guy next to him was really the prototype for R2-D2. That's the silent running drone. That's Dewey from Silent Running, 1971. Bruce Dern. And there were 3 of those. There was a Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Anyway, and then you have Maria from Fritz Lang's Metropolis, 1926, and she was really the forerunner for 3PO.
Is she the only female robot, do you think?
There were female androids, but in terms of like nuts and bolts, I can't think of any other female robots. But maybe it's something I should look into, especially for you, man. Maybe a Katie robot.
Oh my God! Yeah. Please, my birthday's in June, Fred. So.
Oh, okay. And then of course there's Robbie, and then we have Tobor the Great, which is really an obscure film, 1954, Republic Pictures. And I don't know if you want to hear the Tobor story with what happened to him.
Can we do it in about a minute and a half?
Oh yeah, I'll try not to be too long-winded. At any rate, he was. When Republic went out of business, they put all their props into storage, and he was presumed lost for over 50 years. Nobody knew what happened to him. He was going to be bought by Bob Burns, you know, the famous collector of CBS film editor. And Bob was going to buy him, and he had to get like $1,000 together, you know, back in the day. And he went there that Monday, and it was gone. That was the story. That's like urban legend, robot lore. And it turned out that a collector actually did buy the storage container where Tobor was being stored, and he shipped it back east, and nobody knew. And he gave it to his girlfriend, who was a dominatrix and a professional wrestler. She was 6'6", and she had him in his dungeon, in her dungeon of torture. And that's why, you know, Tobor's got that weird smile on his face. So he was there for maybe 20 years. And then when he died, she actually called me up out of nowhere and said, she goes, I have Tobor. It was like a kidnapping. I go, what? You have Tobor? Wow. So I flew out and authenticated him and brought him back. And then there he is. That's the original Tobor. And there's me with that.
So the Tobor in that group photo, Fred, that's the original Tobor?
No, that's a replica. I'm holding the head of the original. And what I did was I made templates and so forth. And
there we go. Yeah.
Right. And it recreated another Tobor.
And what movie was Tobor from?
He was in Tobor the Great, which is an old black and white film. It's a lot of fun. Tobor didn't speak, and either did GORT or Maria, which is really, or the silent running drone. I don't know what's with these filmmakers. Let's make this mute robot, you know, sign language. So really extremely limit. Yeah, there we go.
Tobor, yeah, wow, what a great poster. Do you have the corresponding movie posters for some of your robot movies?
It's actually right behind me. If I move the camera, should I do it?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Go for it.
See, Tobor the Great.
There it is.
See, there you go.
That's very, very cool. That's very cool. Race, can we put that group photo back up again? 18. Okay, and obviously Lost in Space is on the right.
Of course, yes, yeah. B9 Lost in Space, and all of these I should note are all replicas. These are all made by me, and there you go. Except for Tobor, I did that in conjunction with John Rigg, another robot master, and he's just an amazing guy. And we've done several projects together, and he's just a super guy.
You can see how Robbie and B9 would be cousins. They have the same kind of feel to them.
They are cousins. They are cousins.
All right, so I have a funny story. So GORT on far left, for my people watching, GORT on the far left is from The Day the Earth Stood Still, directed by the wonderful Robert Wise. All right, Fred, my very first job in LA, 1982, I worked at the American Film Institute, and Robert Wise was a guest teacher of film directing there. The same year I was there, and he and I worked for a guy on one floor, and Robert Wise was on the same floor at the other end, and there was only one men's room in the hallway. So for 1 year, many times, me and Robert Wise would be in the men's room together, side by side at the urinals. Countless times, Fred. And one time, Robert Wise looked at me and goes, "Dan, we simply have to stop. We have to stop meeting this way." And I thought, "Mr. Wise, you're right. This is Academy Award-winning Robert Wise, and I'm peeing with this guy." This was my entree into Hollywood, so it's one of my fun stories. I love that story.
Wow, no one else can really tell that story.
Yeah.
Robert Wise signed that GORT. It was interesting. He was at a Star Trek: The Next Generation screening because he did a director's cut, and he was really happy to be reunited with GORT.
Wow.
And I have that picture. I didn't send it. I couldn't send every picture, but I have a picture of him signing the GORT. And he was looking at Robbie, and he looks at Robbie, and I was talking to him about Day There Stood Still, and because I had Robbie there, and he goes, "So this robot?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Is this of your own design?" I go, "No." I go, "That's Robbie the Robot from Forbidden Planet." So he wasn't really up on his robots, but he certainly knew GORT.
Well, GORT is one of the all-time greats.
Yeah, well, GORT was a rubber suit, that an actor, the Grauman's Chinese doorman, Locke Martin, would wear.
Wow.
And he was also one of the Martians in Invaders from Mars, one of the mutants. And he was a very tall gentleman, and
I like that movie.
I mean, if you watch GORT walk, he could barely walk. I mean, it was another one of these robot suits that is just impossible to maneuver in. All of these, same with Maria. Bridget Helm would get inside that thing; she couldn't move. And same with Tobor. Tobor actually had tennis shoes inside those big metal feet, and you'd have to get in them, and you're wearing. I think they were sneakers or Keds. I think they were Keds. I'm not sure.
They're all wonderful. I know you restored some of the original ones. You mentioned Tobor you worked on. What are some of the classics that you worked on, the original actual famous ones?
Well, of course, Robbie. I was able to take Robbie home, and I had him home for several months. I don't have any bathroom stories.
Robert Wise wasn't peeing in your bathroom, apparently.
Yeah, so the original Lost in Space robot, and GORT to some extent, and Tobor, and this guy, Robbie, and that's about it. The rest are recreations, the best I could do. Oh no, RoboCop 2, and
so quite a few. Did the studios come to you? I mean, who asked you to?
Well,
the owners.
Yeah, the owners. Yeah, if they were changing hands or if they were just discovered or rediscovered. And I did a 10-foot bronze statue of RoboCop for the city of Detroit, which is still being erected as we speak. But I didn't send you any pictures of that either. But it's
when does that go up? Do you know?
It should be this year. It should be.
You should hire a good publicist.
I should. You can handle it, and then we can do another podcast. We could do this weekly.
Well, I do it weekly. I don't know about you. Race, can we show number 19? I don't even remember what 19 is. No, that's number 20. Hold on, Race. One before that, you jumped the gun. One before that.
Actually, you've been out of sync since 15.
Oh, This is number 19 right there.
This is number 19.
Oh, I was
And this is number 20.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. All right,
Oh,
so
you're
there we
fine.
go. All right, Fred, let's talk about your time machine from the 1960 George Pal movie. It was used in The Big Bang Theory. It's not a robot. Why on earth did you make this if it's not a robot?
I always loved the movie, Rod Taylor, Alan Young, and the time machine. I was doing a show here, and they wanted the time machine, and Mark Hamill was hosting, and we're hamming it up there, and really super nice guy. It was also great, meeting Luke Skywalker. I mean, I never thought I would really, and then thanks to the robots and now the time machine. And then Chuck Lorre gave me a buzz, and he goes, "Hey, we're doing this Big Bang episode, and we hear you have the time machine." And I was, which was a Warner Brothers property shot on the Warner lot. And so they came out. They go, "Are you sure you have it?" I go, "Yeah, you'll love it." So they,
That's so
producers
awesome.
came out and vetted me. I go, "Well, is it good enough?" Yeah, it's okay.
Did you work off of the original? And where is the original?
No, Bob Burns got the original. He found it at a thrift shop, and this is another $1,000 find that Bob had gotten his hands on, and he had the original, which he had restored. He did a pretty good job restoring. It wasn't really too original, but it was as original as it would get. Again, it was sold at the MGM auction in 1970, and it didn't go to the same museum that Robbie went to, but a collector who had like a traveling carnival or something, some kind of stage show, bought it and thought it would be a great draw, and it wasn't. And he thought there was a real barber chair in there, and he thought, "Well, this barber chair is great." And he took it out, and it wasn't. It was a prop chair based off of a real barber chair. I mean, parts of it might have been original. Anyway, the thing was a wreck, and they restored it and so forth. And then years later, really wanted a time machine. Again, this is another project I worked with John Rigg, and just hundreds of hours of research and looking at photos of the original and measuring and so forth. And then I've built a few of these now. It takes over a year to make. It's a lot of work.
Do you have one of these in your home?
I do. And
doesn't that take up
every 10 years I put my kids in it, ever since they were little. And I go, "Well, look at you, the time machine's the same, and you guys are older." So
Dan, in pre-show when we were talking, I actually went and found, discovering that Fred had actually worked on the Big Bang Theory. I found a couple of the
Robbie
show shots that actually had Robbie in it, and some of the stuff that he worked on the show.
Yeah.
Billy Bob Thornton was there.
Right. Yeah. Billy Bob was the guest star, and Robbie was there, and Maria provided that. RoboCop. You don't see it in these shots, and the flying saucer from that. Well, you can see GORT in the back there. It was a fun show. This was several seasons later. Yeah. So there's RoboCop.
Oh, well, there we go.
Yeah. And GORT, and there were some other Warner Brothers props and a lot of vintage arcade games. It was really a fun show. It was a fun show, and it was a fun shoot. It was always great to
Race. That's a great find, man. Thanks.
Yeah. I did some research while we were doing the show. I was shocked to find out that you actually do a replica of Robbie's atomic car.
Oh, yes. That's true. I didn't send you any pictures. Not a full-size replica, but a little
A 1-to-1.
No, I do not do a 1-to-1. I have not done that. No.
I was awesome. That's just really super cool. And then, of course, the black hole. We all remember Maximilian,
right,
and Vincent.
Yeah, never really offered those for sale, but the Max and Vincent from the black hole, those are amazing robots. And the black hole is just not as popular as I think it really should be. But I thought he was a great robot, and one of the Disney stable.
That's very cool. Oh, Fred, we have about a minute. What are your thoughts about AI? You are the robot man. AI is happening. What do you think about AI?
AI is very interesting. In the future, I would like to, you can't really get the voices now. You can synthesize these voices and have them sound exactly like the actors. So I was thinking of maybe doing some AI Robbie voices, and then doing some kind of chat GBT stuff where you can talk to the robot and have them talk back in Robbie's voice, and scan the net and so forth. And we'll see what happens with AI. I guess it's, friend or foe. It's like any new technology. It could be good. It could be used for good or for evil.
Yeah,
So
you think AI will build, Terminator robots like from the Terminator movies?
yeah, I hope so.
That would give you a whole new career,
Yeah,
right?
we need a little more excitement in the world, especially on the international scene.
Absolutely. My daughter is asking, do you tinker with robots in your spare time, or do you have other hobbies?
Oh, other hobbies. No, I don't. I am busy all the time tinkering, and or just being with my family,
That's cool.
I've got 3 boys. I wanted girls. I got 3 boys. I got Keegan, Joe, and David.
Yeah, that's great. I'm one of 3 sons too.
Well,
Let's
my
change-
3 sons. That's it.
Let's change tinkering to toiling.
Toiling. Yeah, I toil every day.
Right, you're a great toiler. You're a great friend. You're a great robot man. Thank you for doing this for me. Go to the-robotman.com to contact Fred. Are you on social media as well?
No, I'm not a fan of social media at all. I'm not on TikTok or Facebook or anything. That's part of the evils of the new age. So you can't find me there, but I certainly tune in, and I'm up on all of it.
Okay. Is Joe Barton one of your kids?
Joe Barton is one of my kids, and his girlfriend Kelly is a writer, producer, director, along with my son, and she does TikTok like you can't believe.
Joe just wrote, I'll be the first one to buy. So,
well, I keep offering him a robot. I go, hey, I've got this spare GORT, and his girlfriend says, oh, I don't know about that GORT, but he wanted an R2, so he had an R2 for a while. And
I'd love a GORT. If you ever want to make a little baby GORT for me.
Lately cool. I've been getting calls. You have a 1-foot GORT? I go, well, no.
I used to see a GORT in a store on La Brea Avenue near Pico.
Yeah, Gray Goose framing. It was in the window there for 100 years. Yeah.
Yes, I drove past it. I drove past it 100 times and thought about you every single time.
Yeah, listen, everybody does.
That's a great GORT. All right, Fred, you're my brother. I love you.
Thank you.
Good luck with everything. Give my love to your family. Thank you for doing this for me. Go to see the-robotman.com website. Check me out, Dan Harary, author.com. Check out HollywoodDisclosureAlliance.org. I'll see you guys next week. Next week, I have Dr. Ava Cadell. She is a love and romance guru, and we're going to talk about the history of Valentine's Day and Cupid and all that kind of stuff. And she's another friend of mine for hundreds of years. Thanks, everyone, for coming live from Hollywood. It's Paranormal Tonight. See you next Thursday. Thank you.
All right. Good night. Thank you.
Good night.